Am might the a-hole for telling my 21-year-old female family that my partner, a 21-year-old male, forced me to do a paternity test. My partner and I have been together for over 4 years, and I recently gave birth to our daughter. We had kept the pregnancy to ourselves until our baby was born happy and healthy, due to worries about complications I faced as a high-risk pregnancy. We told our families after she was born. While my family was ecstatic, his was questioning if we had it for ulterior reasons. They've always heavily disliked me and believe I'm just with their son for money. Yesterday, we took her to meet her grandparents from his side, and after some polite conversation, they dropped the bomb that they would be doing a paternity test. He agreed to it, and to not make myself look suspicious, I agreed to it as well. But afterward, I made it clear to my partner that I felt incredibly disrespected, which led to an argument where he told me it wasn't a big deal if it was his, and that the test was requested by them to ease their uncertainty. Fast forward to today. I was having lunch with my mother and told her about the incident, which left her pissed off and calling my partner a couple of names for insinuating I could have cheated. My mother ended up telling my grandparents, who in a rage told them they would no longer accept him in their house for disrespecting me in such a way when the child is practically his twin. We had another argument about it, and he screamed, saying I ruined his image by telling them. Am I the a-hole? No, OP, you're not the a-hole. You just shared with your family something that him and his family were demanding. That's it. Now, here's a question I've got regarding this whole thing you mentioned. When you were arguing with him about this because you felt disrespected, he said that this test was requested by his family to ease their uncertainty. Does he have the same uncertainty? Because if not, then I don't understand why he couldn't just have said no. Now, of course, this whole thing could have been avoided if paternity tests were mandatory at birth, but that's not the reality today. And I can absolutely understand that if somebody requests a paternity test to ease their uncertainty, it's implied that they believe that you have cheated. To have your partner secondhand accuse you of that, of course it sucks, and I understand why you're upset. The fact that your grandparents are upset, well, they have the right to be upset too. And if he doesn't like it because it ruined his image, then instead of bowing down to mommy and daddy, he should have said no. We're not doing any tests. I trust my partner, and that's it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. And now let's move on to the community comments. Killero says, yeah, his family doesn't get a say in the paternity of your kid. Only do it if your partner and his dad both get paternity tested. If they're implying you cheated, then they can defend that accusation themselves. That's just me being petty. I would be pretty effing pissed if I was in your shoes. And you didn't ruin his image by telling them. He ruined his image by doing something where it ruins his image. F him and his family, SK says. Not the a-hole, but I would seriously consider whether or not to stay with this man-child. SK continues. He either does not trust you, cannot stand up to his family, values his parents more than you and your child, or all of the above. The odds of him changing for the better are very low. Your grandparents are correct. Not letting the a-hole sperm donor into their home. You have every right to share what the a-hole asked or pressured you to do. Wishing you the best and fire or water, Kai says. Not the a-hole. This dynamic is very concerning. Him and his family can conspire and push the test on you effectively, saying that they think you're a cheater. However, he can scream at you for informing your family because you ruined his image. You see how this is messed up, right? Him and his family want to isolate and diminish you, but letting your family know what they're up to shows their true colors and reduces their control over you. I don't know if cheating has been a part of your relationship prior to this to give doubt, but no one should spring this on a person after the fact. This was a discussion meant for you two, not him and his family against you. Before anyone starts with the false paternity stories, remember that men have a way to confirm a woman cheating in this scenario, but women don't. He could be cheating her entire pregnancy, and there's no swap for that until he shows symptoms of an STI. Yes, false paternity is wrong, and people should be held accountable for it. However, this guy and his family are abusive. They take those test results and go to court to set up child support payments. This whole scenario is toxic. Motor Media 2153 says his family knew about it and encouraged it. Why shouldn't your family know what he was asking of you? Upset it. Some of you are concerned about the hiding my pregnancy part. So to clarify, my partner and I live a couple of hours away from our family since we live by his university, and typically only see each other on holidays and special events. On top of that, I have a very petite figure. And my bump was rather small until I gave birth, which made hiding it a lot easier. Hiding it was a personal choice as I faced horrible anxiety due to constant bleeding throughout my pregnancy, which made me fear the worst. The community agrees that the OP is not at fault, and it's only fair if one family requested it, the other should be in the know. So now let's move on to the first of two updates to see what happened next. So 2 days ago, my partner's mother received the results of the paternity test, which of course showed my partner to be the father. They immediately called him, super ecstatic and ready to take their place in the life of my daughter. My partner was also incredibly happy as well, since we would now be receiving their support due to the confirmation of my daughter being his. For reference, since he's studying and doesn't work, his family pays for his school and his half of the bills. I, on the other hand, work and pay my half of the bills myself. In other words, he's reliant on them financially, despite my insistence that we could survive on my salary. To his dismay, though, with the confirmation of his paternity assured, I told him I wanted a break from him and his family's antics. This is not the first stunt they've pulled that antagonizes me. Before this, I was flooded with questions as to why I didn't leave sooner. I was naive and thought our love for each other would beat their disapproval of our relationship. It's painfully clear to me now that that isn't the case. We ended up arguing over it against his wishes. I packed a bag for me and the baby anyways and drove to stay with my parents. He apologized at night and agreed that his part in the entire paternity stunt was messed up, but that he agreed it had to be done, even if he was certain she was his. Yeah, that doesn't track. Fast forward to yesterday, he texted me asking if I was willing to see him, as he missed me and the baby. I agreed, assuming we could move past the whole ordeal. My family is still against him stepping foot in their house, so we ended up meeting at a park to walk around. He apologized again and told me that the test was done, so his family could trust me and willingly be a part of our daughter's life. Though I admitted that I had no intentions of letting them be around her till they at least apologized to me, this heated him up and he began screaming, claiming that as her father, I had no right to keep her from his family, no matter what they did. I disagreed though, advising him that if they couldn't respect me, they had no reason to be a part of her life. The argument went nowhere, and I left with the baby back to my parents. He's since been texting me and calling me, saying that he'd take me to court if I deprive his family access to her. I don't think my position on the matter is wrong, but to him, I'm an a-hole for it. Op said it before any more comments are made about my position about his parents. There's more to it than just the test. I had always stressed to my partner that I wanted his mother specifically at a distance from our child. This was due to how horrific she treated us both for the first year of our relationship, prior to us moving out together. Secondly, the woman is bipolar and abused my partner both physically and mentally when he was growing up as a child, due to him having ADHD and being more hyper. This is what he told me, at least. I know about all of this because he told me about it, so I'm obviously weary of his mother around my daughter. The paternity test was just the nail in the coffin for me. Well, B, you're most definitely not the able you are protecting your daughter in any case. As I mentioned, we have a final update that is 10 months after the original post, so let's finish the story with that. I wasn't planning to update, but upon seeing all the requests, I figured I'd do one. Also, a lot has happened since my last update, which was around 10 months ago. As if the paternity test, awful in-law, and disrespect weren't enough, my partner was also cheating on me. According to him, it was all emotional and nothing physical, although I find it hard to believe. Turns out these emotional affairs have been going on since I was pregnant with multiple girls. He got caught after deciding last second to meet up with one of them at 11 p.m. one night. He claims they were just playing poker with a group and weren't alone together, likely story. He was ignoring my messages and calls, so I called his best friend, thinking he was with him, who gave him away. Since then, we obviously broke up and I moved down with my family and our daughter. Originally, I tried to be a bigger person and consider our daughter before my own feelings, and decided to co-parent. He would come see her on weekends and for a while it worked. Soon enough, he also moved down to his mother's house after his semester ended. He claimed our place was too much for him to pay alone, which, although maybe not a lie, wasn't his real reason for moving down. Due to his lack of attending class and poor grades, he was kicked out of his university. This is relevant for later. Fast forward a bit, and he's begun demanding to have her overnight, rather than only during the day. I told him he couldn't because she was still strictly breastfed and needed me at all times. He decided to argue our custody in court, once and for all. Granted, up until now I hadn't asked him for a penny for our daughter ever or much of anything really. If he saw her it was his choice and I never made him pay me any sort of child support. After going to court, not only does he have to pay me quite a hefty sum for child support, but he wasn't even awarded partial custody. The court discovered that, on top of not having a stable job, he also doesn't have a stable living situation. After his mother kicked him onto the streets, the mother dearest that he was at beck and call for, left him homeless and disowned him. After she discovered he was kicked out of his university, for as much as I want to say it's karma, I don't believe anyone deserves to be in any situation like that. That was all back in June. Now he and I are doing better. He's moved into a studio, and we agreed he could have her every other weekend, plus on his off days from work. Admittedly, it's been hard not to break down whenever he's around. I still feel a lot of the pain from when I discovered I endured so much, just for him to find someone else. But he and I have moved past it for the most part, and are co-parenting without problems thankfully. I want to say I've come out stronger. Our daughter has become my main focus, and I've even advanced in my career to a place where I can live rather comfortably. It's not the happy ending I wish I could have gotten if I'm honest, but I think given everything it's the best one. When I said every other weekend, I did not mean overnight. He only has her during the day. In total he has her about 8 days of the month during the day. It's not 50-50 custody, as he still has no rights over her other than seeing her. While it may not seem wise to abide 100% to the court rulings, my daughter adores her father. And while he may have been a cheating partner, he hasn't been a bad father. If it comes to bite me in the ass, so be it. But my daughter deserves to have her father around for more than 4 days in a month. This doesn't mean he and I will get back together. I have established that isn't happening ever. Wow, talk about pointing a finger and having 3 pointed back at you. He backhandedly accused you of cheating while he had been cheating the whole time. So I guess it was right in the projection. I do hope he rises up to being a good father to his daughter. She's innocent in all this crap. So on that note, here's wishing you and your daughter all the best in the future. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now let's move on to the next post, which also has an update. Am I the a-hole for throwing my pregnant sister-in-law's groceries away? My brother and his wife Laura, who is 7 months pregnant, are staying with us for a week or so since he's interviewing for jobs in the city my family and I are in. My kids love having their aunt and uncle around and everything's been great. Yesterday, Laura went out and came back with groceries. I thanked her but told her that we don't expect them to do this, the kitchen is stocked, and we're just enjoying having them. She said that she wanted to and that most were cravings she's been having. I started helping her unload the bags and noticed that a lot of snacks were with peanuts, cooking crackers, peanut butter, even some sort of cake fusion. It all made me uneasy because she knows my oldest son, at male, is extremely allergic. I don't keep anything of the kind in our home because we've had an incident when he was younger where we almost lost him. I didn't want to be rude, but I told her that I'm not comfortable with having this stuff in my house. She told me that she would be careful, that she wouldn't eat it around him or his siblings, and that she'd clean up after herself. She also mentioned that she was having intense cravings and needed them. Look, I've had 4 kids and kind of get where she's coming from, although I never had to have something like that. Every woman is different. I made sure my son knew not to touch any of it and to leave her alone when she's eating them. That was that. Today, I woke up early to make breakfast and open the fridge, only to be greeted by strawberries dipped in peanut butter, left out without a container to chill. The peanut butter jar wasn't sealed properly next to them, and there were sandwiches on a plate because she likes the bread cold and soggy. I was pissed. I've read enough about airborne contamination to know that you can't really determine it, but I wasn't risking it. I grabbed a bag and started throwing everything in. Our groceries hers? I didn't care. I was going to take the bag, drive to a shelter, and let them know the situation. Laura woke up while I was on my rampage, came down and asked all upset what I was doing. I was snippy with her and didn't try to hide it. We got in an argument with her defensively saying that I can't do this, that the baby needs it, and that it's cruel to cut a pregnant woman through unsatisfied cravings. I told her bluntly that I don't give a single F if she can't keep her own word. Then I won't either, and that she'll live without her craving. My son can't say the same with his allergy. She went back upstairs, packed her bag and came back down, grabbed the bag of food and left in a huff. My brother was at his interview and called me half an hour later to ask me what happened. He was upset with his wife but also with me because nothing happened, and at the end of the day my son is fine. I told my husband when he came back from work, and he's completely on my side. Am I the a-hole? No, Op, you're not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is a tool, and you are absolutely right. She can live without her cravings because the baby doesn't really need it. The baby just needs to be nurtured. The cravings are hers, however. Your son can't live with that allergy and being exposed to peanuts like that. Personally, I would have said no the moment she arrived with the groceries. In my opinion, you were just too nice. I'm sorry you're a guest here. I understand that you're pregnant and that you have cravings, but in a hierarchy of things that are important in my household, my son's health and life are way above your cravings. So no, you can't come in with that stuff. She can either accept that or they can go stay at a hotel. I understand your brother defending his wife, but what a stupid argument. At the end of the day, your son is totally fine. Yeah, because you caught everything and threw it out before he was even in contact with it. You idiot. Anyways, Op, of course you are not the a-hole. And what do you guys think about Op's situation? How would you have handled it? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. A bunch of numbers says, not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is extremely selfish and thinks the world should revolve around her just because she's pregnant. You are completely in the right here to protect your child. Her cravings could kill your son and she doesn't seem to care. If it's that important to her, she can live elsewhere. DJ2 Supreme AA says, not the a-hole. There is a difference between a pregnant woman not having her cravings satisfied and an 8-year-old going into anaphylactic shock. One is possibly life-threatening, and the other is not. Your sister-in-law is being selfish and very uncaring. If your sister-in-law needs to satisfy her cravings that badly, she can go somewhere else with the peanut butter. You're trying to protect your child and not risk any contaminants. Quick Possession 245 says, OMFG, your sister-in-law knows that your son has a peanut allergy and doesn't care because her cravings are more important than his life. Good thing she left. Not the a-hole. Well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Like some people had predicted in the comments. Laura did go straight to my family and started complaining. She hadn't twisted anything. She told him the full honest story and my mother was livid. She called me, panting like she ran a marathon, after she berated Laura to make sure my son was okay. So I can only imagine the riot act she read her. Apparently, even my stepdad gave Laura one of his disapproving frowns. My brother came back in the evening to get his stuff, since Laura had only packed hers for some reason. He did apologize for what she said that he'll have a chat with her once she's calmed down. She's been inconsolable, he told me. She's been crying since she left my mom's house, and that she now feels unwelcome and unloved in our family. And he blames me for it. My husband butted in and told him that's enough. He told him that whatever she's feeling doesn't cover half of what we felt, and that she needs to get over herself. That I've been scrubbing the house from top to bottom for hours because of her actions. I did get off panic and went on to deep clean the whole house, especially the kitchen. But anyway, my brother left after he said that there's no leveling with us when we're being this stubborn. What a jackass. Now that I've had time to get out of the state I was in, I do feel bad that she's distressed and feels unwelcome in our family. That was never my goal. I've been debating sending her an apology, not for my actions because I stand by them, but for the way I went about it. I shouldn't have allowed this stuff in our house in the first place and could have been calmer about it. After I opened the fridge, OP, don't do it. Don't apologize. She's playing victim because she knows that what she did is messed up and the way she acted was stupid. And she understood that when her mother-in-law told her what an idiot she was. She is the only one that needs to be apologizing here. But not with an idiotic apology like, I'm sorry your son is allergic. And I know that sounds stupid, but that's my impression of Laura. I mean a true apology. I'm sorry I put your son's life at risk. Then you can start to move on. At least that's what I do. In any case, here's wishing you the best.